And talking about covert operations, China has launched a new spy mission. It is snooping on the world from space. Now, this is no exaggeration. There is a Chinese satellite in space, a lot of Chinese satellites, but this one can eavesdrop. This is the TJS-3 satellite. It was launched in the year 2018. On paper, this is a communication experiment satellite. But in fact, the satellite is designed to snoop on other satellites. Right now, its target is the US. This is according to a new report. Experts have been tracking the Chinese satellite. They say it's been following a rather strange path. Apparently, it went close to American satellites. It paused and then tried to take a closer look. And which American satellites were targeted? The report names two of them, the USA-233 and the USA-298. Do you know what's common between the two? They're both believed to be military satellites. They're used for communication. And they're operated by the US Space Force. Now, China is tracking them. And it could be targeting Australia too. In fact, Canberra has issued a warning. It says China is increasing its satellite surveillance. Listen to what an Australian official said. I think people just do not realize that every day we are being listened to and surveilled by Chinese satellites that are only 100 to 200 kilometers above our heads. And China is launching hundreds of them a year, and we are seeing more and more of that activity. So Australia wants to arm itself. It wants to acquire what is called soft kill technology. Now, what is soft kill technology? It is technology used to destroy enemy satellites without creating any dangerous debris, hence the name soft kill. Australia also wants to develop more electronic warfare capabilities, something that can disrupt and disable satellites. This technology is not yet commercially available. Australia is looking for an indigenously developed solution. So China now has spies in space too. Is that a first? Certainly not. China has an extensive satellite network. In November 2022, the US released an assessment. It talked about China's satellite fleet, specifically those that can snoop. This fleet has more than 260 satellites, and they have three tasks: intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. This fleet makes the balloons look like the backup option. This is space warfare we're talking about, and China has been at it for a while. Going by one claim, Chinese spy satellites fly over the US every day. They can take pictures, collect radio signals and other data. And the Indo-Pacific could already be a target. So key players in the region are now trying to catch up, like South Korea. South Korea is building its own space program. It now has about 1,000 personnel. In 2021, South Korea launched its first homegrown rocket. In August last year, it launched a mission to the moon. And this was done with America's help. The next goal is to deploy 8 working satellites. Same with Japan. It is working on its space security. This week, Japan tried to test a new rocket. It's called the H-3. Once ready, it will be Japan's flagship vehicle for satellite launches. The rocket is about 200 feet long. It lifted off on Tuesday morning, but there was a malfunction. Japan had to blow up the rocket. This was to ensure that the wreckage does not threaten any property or people. So this particular launch failed, but Tokyo is not giving up.
It will take some time to figure out the cause of this failure or take any measures. And in terms of cost, the burden will also increase. But ultimately, under a normal operational status, which includes considerations of cost, we are still aiming to field an internationally competitive rocket.
The space war is heating up. China poses a threat on every front. For South Korea and Japan, there's an added challenge in Pyongyang. They don't want to depend on American surveillance to keep track of their neighbors. They're working on building their own programs and their own tools of deterrence. Meanwhile, another damning scandal has come to light. It involves the Catholic Church, and it's the kind of scandal they've always looked to brush under the carpet: child abuse. This one is from Poland's Catholic Church. A report says that late Pope John Paul II knew about cases of child abuse in the church, and he not only knew about them, he also helped in the cover-up. These cases are said to have happened right under his eye in the 1960s and 70s when he was the Archbishop. The report talks about 3 priests who sexually abused children. And the Pope, instead of taking action, just transferred them to other churches. Why did he do this? Apparently to save the reputation of the church. Clearly, saving pedophiles dressed as priests was more important than saving children. And this is just the latest such revelation about the Catholic Church. Our next report tells you more.
The Catholic Church and its dark secrets have made headlines once again. At the forefront of the latest revelation is this man, the late John Paul II. He was the Pope, the head of the Catholic Church. A new report casts a shadow on his legacy. It says he was aware of cases of child abuse in his church, instances where priests reportedly sexually assaulted children behind closed doors. He knew about this, but did not take action. The incidents date back to the 1960s and 70s when he was an archbishop in Poland. The Polish media is reporting this. They cite documents from the country's secret services. The reports mention 3 priests who allegedly committed these acts: Eugenius Sergeant, Joseph Loranc, and Boleslaw Sadus. The number of victims, however, remains unclear. Witnesses say that John Paul II was even told in person about the acts of pedophilia. Apparently, a priest reported these cases in 1973. Despite being in the know, John Paul II didn't take any action against the priests. The reason? He's said to have been worried about the fallout and the damage it would cause to the church's reputation. So instead of taking action, he decided to transfer the priests. John Paul II wrote to the Archbishop of Vienna. He recommended Sadus to his care and he was packed off to Austria. What he did not mention was that Sadus had abused young boys in Poland.
Turned out that he demoralized many young boys, whom he used for sexual matters. It was written in the file of the security service about the priest. There was awareness that these are serious crimes.
Reports of these misdoings sent shockwaves. The other 2 priests went on to admit their crimes much later and were convicted. They were sentenced to 3 years in jail, only to have their sentences cut short. The Catholic Church in Poland is a pivotal institution in the country, but its reputation has taken a huge hit in recent years thanks to such scandals. Between January 1990 and June 2018, 382 cases of pedophilia were reported. Between 2018 to 2020, another 368 cases were reported. 186 of them are still under investigation. 38 have been rejected. As for the late John Paul II, this isn't the first skeleton tumbling out of his closet. In the late 1990s, he appointed former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick as the Archbishop of Washington. This was despite being made aware of allegations against him. McCarrick is said to have been charged with pedophilia for abusing his nephews. A report also accused him of having shared a bed with multiple men. The Vatican broke its silence in 2019 and promised action.
I renew my closeness to the victims of every abuse and the Church's commitment to eradicate this evil.
A string of such cases in the Church saw Polish leaders come under pressure. In 2019, Warsaw raised the sentence for child abuse by up to 30 years. But there's nothing to show that the measures have worked. That's because the Church tends to brush cases under the carpet. It doesn't reveal details that hurt its reputation. John Paul II served as the Pope for 25 years. He passed away in 2005 and was canonized as a saint. There's no scope for punishment. The only hope is that these reports will give courage to more victims to speak up. And the Church, struggling to save its reputation, may be forced to clean up its act.
The thing with news is it's not usually good. As much as we try to look for positive stories, the scary, chaotic developments in our world tend to take over. They seem more pressing, so we pick them. Today, we want to consciously make an exception. We're not starting with war or politics or another prediction of apocalypse. We are starting with colors. The festival of Holi was celebrated today. A happy Holi to all of you. This festival has many stories. The most popular one is this. A king called Hiranyakashipu had a gift from God. He could be killed neither by a human being nor an animal, neither indoors nor outdoors, neither at day nor at night, neither by projectiles nor handheld weapons, not on land, in water or in the air. So the king thought that he was invincible. His son Prahlad disagreed. The king tried to have him killed by tricking him into sitting in a pyre. Prahlad survived, and Lord Vishnu appeared in the form of Narsimha, half human, half lion. He took the king at a doorstep, neither indoors nor outdoors, placed him on his lap, not on land, water, or air, and killed him with lion claws, not weapons. Holi is celebrated with a bonfire and colours to mark the victory of good over evil. Here's a slice of the celebration. Happy